Hello and welcome to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament broadcast. This is Nightcat. I will be your host for today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed yesterday's cast with Chobo as the host. Today, we're going to be going through the last little chunk of the winners bracket here. We've got round 3. We're starting off with Crazio and Purple Wave. Crazio spawning as the blue Terran at the top right of Fighting Spirit, and Purple Wave spawning as the teal Protoss up at the top left. And apologies if that emergency vehicle going down the street came across in the microphone. But yeah, just looking at the bracket again real quick here. So we've got Crazio up against Purple Wave here in round 3. And then we're also going to have Monster up against Banana Brain. And then we're also going to cast the semifinals, which will be between the two winners of this. The losers in this round are actually going to drop down to round 4 of the losers bracket. So we can see, it looks like we've got the early gas. We're going to see, I think, some pretty standard mech play from Crazio. It looks like we've got a 1 gate and then an expansion. This may have been a 15 Nexus, just looking at the supply. So it seems pretty quick and a little bit greedy. And yeah, we haven't even scouted where Crazio is just yet, so scouting now. I would like to see maybe the Zealot scout a different base than the Probe, because then, you know, we would have quickly determined that by process of elimination where Crazio is. A little bit of distraction there on the worker. Now we're coming down here and we see this is indeed empty, so now we know where Crazio is. Crazio has the bunker at the natural, so should be okay. Zealot just gives a love tap to that SCV. The SCV is gonna get in and see the full picture here. Probe getting taken out by the bunker. Just got everything making noise the moment I decide to start recording. Don't know if that phone ding came up or not. We've got our first Dragoon out. Dragoon range is on the way here. A little dive in attempt the bunker, but it does cost a Zealot. The Dragoon, though, should be able to maybe keep the Vultures at bay, but if mines were on the way, Purple Wave would probably need to go home to save the units. However, the robotics facility is on the way. I imagine after that will be an observatory, so mines won't be as big of an issue, but we have siege mode. Nicely positioned tank here from Crazio, right, on this hilltop here, using the terrain to their advantage. I don't think Purple Wave is going to be able to really crack this in any way. Very nicely defensed setup here. The turret's a little forward. If there were Dark Templars or something coming, that would be a pretty susceptible turret. And actually, yeah, the Dragoons can safely fire down the turret if they would stick to one spot and just fire at it. But comsats are out now, so like Dark Templar aren't really a worry at this point, but yeah, Purple Wave just needs to kind of macro up here. We've got 4 gates, we've got the observatory. We really need a third base in response to Terran's second base here, which the third base is getting started maybe a little bit later. Looks like Purple Wave is actually just full-on returning home. Oh, did the engineering bay... The engineering bay pulled Purple Wave's entire army back. Maybe a bit of a disproportionate response, but interesting to see. That might be something that could be abusable in this matchup here. If Crazio needs to sort of clear their front, they can just send a building floating over to Purple Wave's main, and Purple Wave will pull the full army back. Some tank shots here, taking out a few of the Dragoons. There aren't many tanks here, but the ground layout here for Fighting Spirit really leaves this a very defensible position with not as many units. Nice repair on the Vulture there. I mean, there's a good number of Dragoons. There's a good amount of Dragoon production going on. But yeah, Purple Wave really needs to more like sit and wait for Terran to make a move to really crack it. Like, keep Terran from taking a third, crush any move out that tries to come across the bridge instead of trying to move across the bridge themselves. They do have the shuttle. With Reaver, though, we'll see how effective that actually is against tanks that are AI controlled, because if that Reaver gets dropped, like even for a moment, and a tank is free to fire, I could see that Reaver taking some shots. A second Reaver comes out, the shuttle goes and picks it up. Leading a lot of Dragoons, though, for nothing, right? Because, like, Terran's taking no damage here. Just some health damage on a few scattered units that it then repairs. Crazy is crawling out across the bridge here. Zealots are on the way. Do we have... Leg speed is not quite done yet. So this push is coming just before that can hit. I think that's due to the investment in the Reaver tech here. The Reaver's not even getting a chance to fire. He picked up before any shots can come out. It's a very nice defensive, like, just ball here. That Crazy has. The supply count, though, is really small. It's partly because there's less workers than you might normally see. And you'd want to see like 60 to 70 even on 2 bases, so that way when you take the third you can just quickly repopulate or redistribute your workers, transfer them, you know. But yeah, this is Arbiter Tech is coming out now, but it might be a little late, I think, for Arbiter Tech. I think the Reavers, they're really not being effective here and doing anything. I mean, I get they're trying to stay with the army, but the Reavers might have actually been better used for harassment here. The one shuttle just abandoned this poor Reaver, man. It just took a good shot from the tanks there. It's interesting to see this really slow crawl from Crazio happening. And Purple Wave is just super reluctant to engage in any way. Not that I think an engagement would necessarily benefit Purple Wave, but Purple Wave is going across this bridge, which is really, really bad for it. I would have preferred to see the army come down here, like to the south, so that way it could then flank as Crazio's army tries to fit through the little gap there. Yeah, as it is, Purple Wave has kind of bottled itself up. And, I mean, an Arbiter's going to be out, but Stasis takes so long to research, and Stasis... Where is it? Okay, Stasis is just getting started now. I think Arbiter Energy may have been researched first, actually. I think that's what this is, if I'm remembering right. But yeah, it's just not going to really be here in time, I don't think. I mean, maybe there could be some delay here, but there's so many tanks. There's 23 tanks here. I don't think Crazio has lost, like, a single unit. Maybe 1 or 2 in this move, this whole move forward here, because Purple Wave's army just has not engaged. And there we have a pretty good stasis, but Purple Wave is still just kind of stumbling on itself back here by the ramp. The workers are... It looks like they probably want to transfer, given that the main has mined out, but they're just kind of like... They recognize this is danger. Don't go there. But they're causing problems for the army as well, because they're just kind of making the army stumble. Now that stasis is long worn off, and Purple Wave, you're gonna have to engage at some point, like... Crazio supply almost double Purple Waves now. So what was a really small supply push was never really contested. It was like just delayed. But that delay was bleeding some units for Purple Wave the whole time, and Purple Wave just doesn't have an army. I mean, there's a scout out now, but there's also a Wraith that can run back and be repaired. Ultras are now getting into the main. There's just nothing to stop it. And Crazio's going to take the lead in this series, go up 1-0, I think, here. There's just way too much army. Purple Wave can't really do anything against it at this point. Yeah, so we're all surprised to see, like, Purple Wave so reluctant to engage with the Terran army there. Because they just basically stayed, like, just outside the edge of the tank range the whole time that Terran army was just sort of moving across. And Crazio did a really good job of just keeping that ball tight and only unsieging what needed to be unsieged in order to move forward and slowly leapfrogging that ball across. And Purple Wave just never did a dive. Like, really wanted, like, yes, you're gonna take some fights where you're going to trade poorly as Protoss, but you need to make that ball smaller. You need to lower that tank count. And you have to rely on your macro to just give you a bigger army faster than Terran can repopulate their army, right? Because tanks just take so long to make. You can only make them out of the factories that have machine shops. They're so gas heavy. Like, on 2 bases, on 2 gas, you can support 3 factories with shops, but then you can't tech. And you can't upgrade if you do that. So you really have to put that sort of pressure on the Terran army composition to say, okay, you're stepping out like this and coming across this bridge. I might lose this fight, but I'm going to kill as many tanks as I can. I'm going to kill as much of your army as I can because I can remake my army faster. It looks like this high ground base hasn't quite been found by Crazio yet. And the probes get found, and so yeah, now the base is found here, and this should get cleaned up pretty quick. In a lot of ways, too, this map works in Crazio's favor and Terran's favor because of its very, very, very defensible natural. And Purple Wave trying to expand at the bottom left. Purple Wave is like the one guy from the Monty Python sketch. Like, I'm not dead yet. A nice scan from Crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and target down the last building here. It's warping in Nexus. We're actually seeing a physics lab. That's kind of interesting. Battlecruisers typically are not going to do well against Protoss, but a nice 1-0 win here for Crazio. Killing this building in like the slowest fashion that it could with 2 Wraiths and a Vulture. Here comes the rest of the army. Let's get game 2 going. The battlefield for game 2 is going to be on Empire of the Sun. It looks like we've got cross spawns this time. Purple Wave taking the red Protoss pieces up at the top left of the map. Crazio taking the brown Terran pieces down in the bottom right. So this one it's still sort of defensible like Fighting Spirit because you have like these thin walls, but everything is the same level. So there's no mischance. Like if you put a tank here, it's still going to get a free shot because the ground army, if there's no air support, isn't going to see the tank until the tank fires on the ground army, right? But then once they see it, their shots only have that 1 in 256 chance to miss. Instead of the low ground to high ground sort of chance to miss, which is a lot higher. So we'll see if that will factor into this at all with Purple Wave once it gets its units outside of Crazio's base. Is it going to, you know, maybe have a little bit easier time trying to crack into that natural, or is it, you know, the little wall going to help, or we'll see how that sort of plays out. Looks like the core finishing up here. I don't think we had, last time we had a couple of zealots. This time it looks like we have no zealot coming out. The natural bunker is out. More than likely has 1 marine in it. Yep. But 1 marine, the probe is able to get by. And it's able to scout and see what's going on. Sees the 1 factory going down. And the Dragoon is chased out. The SCV actually manages to catch it as well on the high ground. And is coming down to bottom left. Okay. That was an interesting movement path. And it seems like they're all taking... Maybe because it has not scouted the direct path through the middle. It's kind of following the path that the probe took. Which has been interesting to see there. Looks like Goon range has just finished. So there we go. The Goons do settle on a spot here to apply some pressure to this bunker, and 2 Goons could take this out before it even gets repaired. This does not look good. It's never good for a Terran when that bunker falls. So the tank sieges up, but the Goons, they could take the tank. Oh! A little bit of miss micro there from Purple Wave could have just dove down on the tank. There was not any support, but Bunker able to get back up. So Crazio should be able to stabilize from here. Purple Wave really had a shot to take that there. And really cause some problems for Crazio, but Crazio able to recover and stabilize here. And so we've got Purple Wave going ahead and taking a third in response to Crazio going ahead and taking natural. The tank going a bit forward, pushing these Dragoons back, protecting that turret. The Goons considering diving in, but in here we have a tank on the other side of the wall, like I was talking about before, using that wall to its advantage. So very nice to see that terrain tactics happening there. And Crazio just happily taking the donation of Dragoons here. Purple Wave bleeding a lot of army, which you really don't want to do as Protoss. In the early to mid-game stages, it's really important that you don't just freely donate units to the Terran player, and that if you are losing units, that you're getting an equivalent exchange for those units, or, you know, something better for yourself than for the Terran. It's like we've got a second armory on the way down. We've got a starport and additional factory coming down for Crazio. So Crazio just looking to power up right now on these two bases, keeping itself secure with this choke and these tanks. Really, like for a while there too, it's like not really producing units. So it's really relying on the defensive power of the tanks. I almost wonder if this could be susceptible to like a Bulldog style attempt to break this natural. But I don't think there are any Protoss AIs that really do like a Bulldog style. That tank getting a little bit far ahead, and actually I feel like these Dragoons, there's enough they could dive and really do some damage if they were just willing to run on top of the tanks. And really that wouldn't be like as it is, because these Dragoons are backing out, it's a really bad trade for Purple Wave. One tank and like one or two buildings gone. But the tank count is still really large, right? And quite a few Dragoons were lost there. If it just dove in and stutter stepped, like walk, shoot, like it could have got on top of the tanks and maybe reduced the tank count to like 2 or 3. Or like hopefully 2, and it might have been worth it. But yeah, like I get that sort of decision making too is really hard to get into an AI. Because situations can just be so fluid and so varied in all of the variables that are involved with it, that like coming to some kind of heuristic for these types of situations is just really hard to not just throw your army away, right? A lot of the times it's better to err on the side of caution and keep your army alive. But we saw in game 1 how that really backfired on Purple Wave to the point where its army just absolutely refused to fight while the natural was just getting shredded. It backed all the way up into its own natural there, so it looks like we might be seeing something kind of similar playing out here. Purple Wave, though, almost 200-200. Will it be willing to throw this army away to try and get some damage? And Crazio's not quite able to really get out of this natural just yet. Looks like Crazio is more preferring to take a third here, rather than trying to push with the army that it has. Arbiters seem to be coming out a bit sooner. We're not going with the Reaver tech. We're trying High Templars this time instead. Got High Templars in a shuttle here. Nice storm on the workers. Got a few of them. High Templar might be a little bit better, though, being used against the army. And here we have Crazio's army starting its march across the map here. Just taking a quick look at upgrades. 3-2 on the way. Arbiter should, should be out soon. Looks like we've got Arbiter Energy coming out first. You really want to get Stasis first instead of the Energy upgrade in the PvT matchup, because your Arbiter should pop and then Stasis should finish in time for your first Arbiter to have the energy to cast Stasis, and that really helps against this push here, because as it is right now, like, okay, great, the Arbiters have some energy, Stasis isn't researched yet. And ideally, these Arbiters should have been out a little sooner. Like, as soon as the Arbiter Tribunal finishes, you start up the Arbiter, and then you start the Stasis research, so that way you have it in time for this push. But this push is getting a bit surrounded here. I focus a bit more on the push, and the push is looking a bit smaller, so Purple Wave may have repelled it this time, since Purple Wave's retreat did not just kind of force the army into a small space. And now, that's a lot of tanks there, though. So, okay, stasis is going down. Like, usually the power of the Terran army is being, like, in this sort of death ball that's marching across. I think Crazy might be where this bottom left base is sort of diverting some army to that. But Purple Wave's army is feeling a bit more disjointed than Crazio's, and I think that might be hurting it. Like, if all of Purple Wave's army just sort of gathered together, it could probably crush this. But as it is, it's like about equal right now in terms of holding ground between the two. A lot of scans having to go down. Vessels trying to do as much as they can here for detection and trying to stay alive. Good siege on the high ground there by Purple Wave. Or sorry, by Crazio. With those tanks, and they're gonna have to unsiege them, and good catch with the stasis there. 4 Arbiters are like a Terran's nightmare. Once there's like 4 to 5 Arbiters on the field, it is so frustrating because it feels like the stasis casts are just constant when it's like that. An EMP goes down, but stasis still getting off. I'm not even sure if any of the Arbiters actually got hit by that EMP. It doesn't look like it based on the shields. Maybe one did. But it looks like Crazio is able to kind of coalesce here and push this back. Yeah, like Empire of the Sun, like compared to Fighting Spirit, just has such a lot, like a much more wide open middle, I feel. And that really allowed like them to just sort of fight over that middle for a good while. Crazio is expanding meanwhile on the right side of the map pretty well. 4 base Terran is pretty scary, especially when it's a 4 gas base Terran. And yeah, it looks like Crazio's army was able to kind of coalesce into this death ball now, which is outside the natural of Purple Wave. And unfortunately, I don't think Purple Wave is quite able to do what it really needs to do to avoid this situation, which would have been to set this up as another main with macro facilities. So that way, army, you know, like this death ball is here. Well, guess what? I have got production, an army that can come out over here and, you know, threaten you with a backstab or whatever. And so, yeah, without that capability, the army eventually getting here and boxing in this main, I think is going to spell a second game win here for Crazio. In multiple instances, it feels like Purple Wave almost has what it needs to score a win against Crazio here. Maybe it'll show us something in Game 3. I mean, it did change up, like, the tech that it went and stuff here. Yeah, like, it's so hard to judge, you know, the aggressiveness versus the just being defensive and trying to keep your army alive. Like I was saying, in a lot of scenarios, it's usually better to try and keep your army alive, but oh no, and then that gets stasis. Oh jeez. I think Crazio's like entire, or almost the entire army is stasis, but Purple Wave's army can't do anything because all the units that are stasis are like blocked. This reminds me of a meme that sometimes is posted on like Artosis's Twitch chat, where it's like, Artosis, why do you keep putting your units in the blue crystal thing? I know it protects them, but it also takes them out of the fight. I think it ultimately hurts you. It's something along those lines. There's just so much stasis there. And then the tanks are just crowding up here because they want to siege and fire at the max range that they can. But yeah, I feel like just with the general army behavior, I don't know if Purple Wave can quite get a reverse sweep on Crazio, but it's certainly going to try. As Crazio cleans up the final buildings here. Yeah, I hope we get another open map like this for Game 3, because that open ground, like this open middle, just battlefield was really great to watch. And I feel like if Purple Wave can fight in an open space like that and get Crazio's army disjointed like it was, but can not, like, can keep its own army from getting disjointed like that, then I feel like Purple Wave has a shot at stopping that push. And being able to take a win off of Crazio here. And Crazio just needs to find the last couple buildings. But building more infrastructure back home. Taking over the whole right side of the map. And yeah, again, in the AI scene, typically, some AIs do have, like, GG code to leave the game. They feel they are in an unwinnable state, but in some ways, in AI versus AI, that can be a disadvantage to have that type of code, because there's always the chance something happens where, say, like, your opponent disconnects, or not disconnects, but crashes or something like that. And here we have the final pylon now under attack. A lot of the higher level bots are not going to crash though, but I mean, it's a potential way to win, right? Crazio's going up 2-0 though, and we'll see if Crazio can close it out in game 3, or can Purple Wave start that reverse sweep. Third battlefield between these two is going to be La Mancha. We have Purple Wave spawning as the orange Protoss down in the bottom right. And over in the bottom left, we have Crazio spawning as the Teal Terran. So immediately we have close spawns, not cross spawn like last game. The middle ground for La Mancha, not quite as open as Empire of the Sun, as there is this sort of chunky middle that you can't ground path through. But it is pretty wide, but I'm afraid we might see something similar to the Fighting Spirit game, where Crazio sort of slowly fights its way over to Purple Wave, and Purple Wave just kind of not choosing to engage when it really needs to. We have the scout coming out for Crazio. Looks like Crazio is going to get a last scout, maybe. Actually, it's doing a cross scout first. So depending on where it goes after that, no. Okay, I was checking the center, and now is swerving towards Purple Wave, so it will indeed get that first scout. Let's see what's going on. I don't think Purple Wave has scouted just yet. I did not catch any orange blips on the mini-map going out, but also it's an orange map, so very easy to miss that. Looks like, actually, I think, is this going to scout now, or... Going for a 20 Nexus here. The first Dragoon is out, and we'll be able to chase this SCV away. Not quite sure if that SCV would have seen this expansion or not, but now this Dragoon has to do the scouting, since no probe went out, and it's just going to go to the wrong main to start. The SCV manages to get back in. And so Crazio gets pretty much a full scout of what is going on here. Range is on the way. It looks like this goon is going to go to the proper base now in its scouting pattern. And really not that big of a deal, given that range not finished yet. Crazio just doing the bunker expand here off of one factory. Everything is looking pretty good. I am worried for Crazio, though, if Purple Wave can score another bunker takedown. But it looks like Crazio's doing a bit better job this game of keeping workers by the bunker for repair. Range just finishing up now. So if the Dragoons can get to the right spot, looks like they're having a little bit of trouble at that angle. But now there is a transfer here of workers. I don't quite think... Yeah, and now siege mode is done, so not going to be able to bust the bunker this game. Observer is out. So we've just got 2 gates for right now. River's going to try and fly in here and see what's going on, but sees the turret finishing up there. Definitely stays just out of range in order to get a peek more into the main. staying out of range of the turrets that are around there, trying to get the information that it can, but now it's kind of stuck. Taking a couple of shots to get out and see this upper part of the main here. Floating buildings taking some pretty heavy damage, actually. The engineering bay almost starting to burn down there. Crazy repairs it. Yeah, it decides to repair it after it drops down to the red. Now the barracks is getting pretty low. But these Dragoons keep taking hits. Maybe getting a bit lured in by the floating buildings there. The observer goes and gets picked off by a turret there. And now we're seeing that lead of units here. That it's 4 Dragoons now gone. There's just 2 Dragoons in the Zealot there. But carriers are on the way. So we've got like a 3-base carrier here, and a Vulture for Purple Wave doesn't get up there to see it, but I think a scan may have gone down and seen it as we see Goliath production is underway. And it really hurts losing those Dragoons too. You really don't want to lose ground units when you're doing this sort of a fast carrier play, because you need the ground units to support the carriers when the carrier numbers are low. Especially when Terran sniffs out what's going on. You need that ground army to complement the carriers. But the carriers are now out and they're coming over. Not sure. Okay, the carrier interceptor upgrade is complete. The carriers, since they're fresh, they can't have a full complement of interceptors just yet, and there is a good number of Goliaths here. And I think these floating buildings are causing a bit of trouble here for Purple Wave's logic in terms of when to attack and where to move in position. So I think they're trying to push these buildings back, but it's forcing them into range of things that they really just don't want to be in range of. Purple Wave really just needs to stall until it can get like a critical mass of carriers and interceptors as well. And it's kind of throwing interceptors away here. It's really hard to tell, since we can't see the interceptor counts, what they actually are on the carriers. But we're not seeing a whole lot fly out of the carriers that are there. 5 carriers now in the army for Purple Wave, but like, see how quickly just those interceptors just fall. Like, Purple Wave kind of needs to hit like a critical mass of interceptors where you're not producing them anymore. Ooh, that front loses a carrier too. You don't want to lose that with this type of build either. I mean, Purple Wave is expanding behind this, has a 4th base up, but Razor is able to take a 3rd as all of the fighting is happening pretty much here, which is protecting any other base that Crazio wants to take. And yeah, the Goliath count is just continuing to go up. You really want more of your ground army to be engaging with the Goliaths. We have Storms though, and Storms might start to make a difference here if, well, at least there's a Templar. Looks like it has the energy for Storm, but it's, okay, it's now casting now that kind of got trapped and was attacked a bit, but good repairs going down from Crazio. Repairs a little bit easier for the AI to execute in that sort of scenario. Just kind of keep the mech push alive. Arbiters look to be on the way now, so we've actually teched all the way to Arbiters. We're not producing any more carriers, we just have the 4. I mean, I guess if you switch into a more ground-heavy army now, like, you force the Terran to produce all these Goliaths. And really against a ground army, you want more Vulture tanks, so I could see something there, but this push, because, especially with them being close position, has just been able to get to the choke of Purple Wave's natural with relative ease. And even expanding behind this, I love that move. And right now, it's not looking good for Purple Wave here. The carriers are getting picked off. I don't think the carriers have any interceptors. We've got a few more carriers being produced, but a lot of probes are falling. Still a decent worker count, though. It's a lot of workers have been transferred to the other bases. The top right base now also taken for Purple Wave. A bit of an army jumble here. This could work in Purple Wave's favor, but the Goliaths are still able to just sort of shoot down any interceptor that comes out. Yeah, just the Purple Wave was never able to get the interceptor count up. I was never really able to get the carrier count of like 5, so pretty nicely done there by Crazio. There is a couple of stasis that went down and causing some havoc in the army, but the natural has fallen. All of the production, well, actually, no, there are some gateways up at the top right, so what Purple Wave needed to do in the Empire of the Sun game, it's done here, but it just does not have money. Like, where's all of its money going? Now, carriers and interceptors are pretty expensive, but like, it's got 3 mining bases. It just seems like it's not really able to produce. It's producing Dragoons, which are not really going to help against the tanks. And then the Goliaths are providing great coverage for those tanks. And Crazio's trying to move on to other bases here to take out the mining bases. Carriers are trying to do what they can to defend, but good job with the Goliaths sort of trapping the carriers in this dead space here, but they're not really going to be able to do a whole lot. There's 3 other carriers down here, but yeah, like the coordination of Crazio's army, I think, is just a little too much for this composition Purple Waves to handle. Vulture's finding a spot where they can sort of hang out, where the cannons can't hit them. Now, granted, new units, new Dragoons popping out were able to, but one of the mining bases is down. A lot of the tech going down here with this main falling. And Crazio is looking pretty strong to have secured itself a seat at the semifinals here. Oh man, it would be interesting to see a Crazio Monster semifinals / finals. I bet that would be an amazing slugfest to watch, but we've still got another series to decide who will be going to the semifinals to meet the winner of this series. And then we've still got a lot of loser bracket games to watch to figure out who's going to make it all the way to the finals. Yeah, Crazio now cleaning up this top right. So this was a pretty good series between these two. But yeah, like, I mean, a lot of Terran players will whine and complain about TVP, but there definitely are things that I feel like it's a matchup that can ebb and flow. You know, like as Protoss players develop certain skills, then the Terran players have to develop certain skills in order to compensate and then start winning again, and then a Protoss player has to learn a new set of skills to be able to deal with what the Terran learned. And I think like if you had like a Protoss player and a Terran player start off and like develop as players, I feel like probably, you know, the Protoss player is going to go up first and be winning, but then as the Terran player develops skills to deal with you know, whatever that Protoss player is throwing at them, then the Terran player is going to go up, and then the Protoss is going to have to learn to do new things and new skills to get on top. And it's really just a matchup that if you start 2 people off, I feel like it will go back and forth as they develop as players and get stronger. And so I feel like in this particular matchup, like what Crazio is doing is just a bit stronger than what Purple Wave is doing. And so I think if Purple Wave, you know, we're gonna meet Crazio next year, and I mean, Purple Wave could still meet Crazio in the finals again if it makes its way through the losers bracket. So we might see a matchup again this year, but you know, I'm thinking with a little bit more added to Purple Wave, it's got a good shot against Crazio. But if they meet up again, I'm gonna have to favor Crazio. But we'll see how that goes. Crazio secures itself a seat in the semifinals, going 3-0 up against Purple Wave. So now we'll get into our second series of the day here. And our next series up here is going to be Monster, spawning in here as the Blue Zerg for Game 1 on Benzene, going up against Banana Brain, spawning down in the bottom left as the Orange Protoss. This is going to decide who's going to go on to the semifinals to face Crazio. We've got, it looks like a fast expand build coming out of Banana Brain, maybe? Yep, okay, there's the pylon. A little dance from the probe as it puts that pylon down. And we've got Monster here looking like they're starting. Okay, there's the spawning pool, so we're getting a pool first build. Here it is an overpool though, as the Overlord is going to hatch there. We're getting another drone, another couple drones. It's like we are getting a forge, so we are doing a forge fast expand here from Banana Brain. Zerg vs Protoss is just such a fun matchup to watch, especially like some of these games can just really become slugfest, mine the entire map out matches, and it's just fun to watch the ebb and flow of this matchup. It's like we've got the natural nexus coming down, so based on the scout and the lack of drones hatched, it was able to, I believe it started that nexus before starting that cannon. Actually, I believe, yeah, based on the order of the production there, I believe that would be the case. We do have a couple of things running across here. We actually have a third hatchery coming down, so we're getting some 3 hatchery play here. And the cannon's going to catch that first Zergling. We've got a gateway coming down now. I think Benzene was in, what? I think the remaster ladder pool a few seasons ago now? Maybe like 3 or 4, I want to say. I thought it was in there like somewhat recently, but maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, I don't know if like these naturals were necessarily designed with like these sort of fast expands in mind or not, but Banana Brain seems to have a way to make it work. The Zealot probably shouldn't be back on the ramp, but I see. He was going after the drone here. And then he was doing a little bit of dance there because he wasn't sure about going after the drone or standing up here. We have a second cannon coming down now. We have a lot of Zerglings coming out of Monster, so it looks like this is going to be a pretty big Zergling flood. Okay, the Zealots are mostly in position here, but there needs to be some cannons or something. That's a lot of Zerglings. We have 39 Zerglings coming in here. I'm assuming all 39 are here. They might not quite be, as more are coming in. And here we go. We've got the push at the front here. Some probes being pulled. Can Banana Brain hold this back? It's getting close. Oh wow, looks like Monster had just enough Zerglings. And now probes are being pulled to the front to try and stymie this, but Zealot does pop out, but there's no additional cannons being made. Banana Brain does not have the money for it. There is a Corsair going across the map to get the Overlords, which I don't think Monster will have any defense against, but Corsairs can't shoot down, so they're not going to be able to really clear any Zerg buildings. Overlord's being taken out, but there's going to be nothing to clean up the ground game. Nice Ling Flood there by Monster. Very quick first game. Oh man, Banana Brain was so close to holding it too. Like one more Zealot. It just needed something to like watch for that flood to come to know, okay, I need to get Zealots. I can't just tech straight the Corsair. Dang. That was a good game. So Monster's gonna go with a quick, or taking the lead quickly here in the series, taking game 1, and we shall get ourselves into game 2 here. Game 2 taking place on Andromeda. We have Monster spawning as the Browns are up at the top left. Banana Brain spawning as the orange Protoss down at the bottom right. The choke. Actually, I don't think you see this very often on modern maps where you have this sort of angled choke here. But you have like on all of them here. They're all at an angle. I think a lot of more modern maps, they try to just have like pure horizontal or pure vertical style chokes out of the natural. So I'm not sure exactly how you would forge fast expand this. Looks like Banana Brain is going to give it a try here. I feel though like this building positioning just allows Zerglings to flood into the main, and it looks like Monster, despite this being a 4-player map, which I'm not saying that to mean like, oh, that's a bad decision to do it on 4-player map, but just, you know, it looks to be going for a similar build, if not the same build. We have that overpull. We have a second hatchery down. We'll see when this probe gets picked up. Does a third hatchery come down? I think that was the trigger last game. Looks like we have the Nexus coming down and a cannon now. So this might be the same builds clashing again, and I think I'm just very worried for Banana Brain because it feels as if the terrain will suit, and there is a third hatchery coming. Actually, I really like this 3 hatchery play. What? Oh, I think the cannon took a hit or something. I like this 3 hatchery play. Oh, okay, there's a probe coming out to scout, but I don't think it's gonna quite catch the Ling Flood. And it does get taken out there. But because you have this mineral only, it just makes sense to throw a third hatchery there, because it does still kind of create the dilemma of, well, now you've got 3 places to defend, but the third place to defend is up this ramp, which you can potentially be defending, you know, based on the fact that you have this natural here to defend. Zealot is trying to chase down that drone. Gets a nice swipe on it at the edge there, but we just have pure Zergling production right now. The Zergling numbers are climbing dangerously, and yeah, there's Zerglings can just flood right past this. We've got the flood coming across the map now. I like the way that they are moving in this sort of formation to kind of keep this arc as they travel. And now they're just diving in. They are going to dive on the cannons and on this natural here. And yeah, it looks a lot worse for Banana Brain in this game than it did in the last game. And I think that is just due to the shape of this natural. So a bit unfortunate of... I guess you could say, like, I'm debating on if it's an unfortunate map choice. You know, the maps are chosen at random and there is no limitation on repeating of maps. So I do think that the map played into this a strong bit, at least making it as quick of a defeat and not as close as the last game. But, you know, Banana Brain... Okay. Banana Brain GG's out with one assimilator there. I was going to say that, like, Banana Brain has the option to do a different build. So, you know, you can't 100% blame the map, but yeah, I think the map played a large part in how this game 2 goes. Monsters up 2-0, looking to close it out and make it to the semifinals to face Crazio. Let's see if it can do it. Third match in this series, taking place on Tau Cross. Monster taking the red Zerg pieces over on the left side of the map, and in the top right, we have Banana Brain in the purple Protoss pieces. Using the Protoss, in the pieces, using the pieces, however you want to word it. It's the purple Protoss. Looks like we're probably... I wouldn't be surprised if we get same builds, honestly. You know, Monster should just... If it's worked twice, just use it again, right? The layout for this Naturals may be a little bit better. But I'm thinking Banana Brain might need something a little bit more reactionary, or, like, being just a little bit more cautious. Like, if there's, like, another cannon, or... like another Zealot produced somewhere in this build, I feel like it would handle this 3 hatchery Zergling flood a little bit better. But as it stands, you know, if that's the build Monster goes with again, I don't think it's going to play out very well for Banana Brain. Maybe a little better than last game, given the shape of this natural here. We have actually 2 cannons going down now, so that's a little different. Okay, cancels the 1 cannon. Interesting. That's still different, though. Throws down a gateway. So either something is kicked off in Banana Brain's learning that it needs to get, like, this gateway a little bit sooner, or you know, I wonder if that left side is tight. It's always really hard to tell with structures and terrain edges if something is tight or not. It's also tricky too, like if this third hatch goes up at a third location to actually scout it, you don't think that probe saw the third hatch to know that this is going to be 3 hatches? And the probe was trying to find a way in there. It doesn't even get to the natural, so Banana Brain is a bit in the dark. We have the Overlord here coming in. We don't have any Zealots right now. Okay, there is one Zealot, actually. I lied. It was busy, I think. Yeah, it's busy chasing that drone. But this is going to look almost the same as previous games. Like, we got to this state via Banana Brain a little bit different than the before. But this is looking rather similar. The only difference is maybe that monster doesn't have... That's actually going over the names a little. Try and move this. White have as many Zerglings, and it looks like actually monster is going for gas. Okay, so we're not going to see the same link flood that we have been seeing. So monster is deciding to do something a little bit different. And it's going to need spore colonies to handle this Corsair. It feels like, well, I'm on 2x, okay, I was going to say, it feels like the Corsair is attacking faster than they normally would, but that's because it is on double speed. So, of course, it's going to feel like it is a bit faster. So that spore finishes. Corsair goes ahead and backs off and is scouting around. Just I can't quite get to those Overlords. Okay, it's able to hit one when it's fresh. A couple of shots going off on these Corsairs. I'd rather see these Corsairs just kind of scout around. There is an Overlord here that could have been picked off. So maybe a little too much focus here on these Overlords, but it is forcing them to huddle around this spore colony for their life. We've got another Corsair coming up here. There is a Spire going down, so it looks like monster's going for an air build. But it's going to have to deal with the Corsairs that are already at the natural. There's 4 here, and there's a 5th one out on the map. I just heard a Zergling get killed by a Zealot. Looks like we have, I think those might be Speed Zealots. Yep, those are Speed Zealots with +1 coming in here to this 3rd. There's some Scourge on the way. The Zealots are falling back. And I'm not sure why. The Zealots could have easily cleared the 3rd base there. That could have easily knocked monster back down to 2. I think there might have been a connection there in the loss of Corsair. That's enough Corsairs to kill like 1 Scourge, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not sure why they're just refusing to fire. It's almost like they just purely run away from Scourge and don't ever try to like link back and fire. But that falling back has, okay, we do have Storm out. Monster has really excellent Storm dodging. I don't even think a single unit took like a damage there, maybe a little bit. There's a Hydra's missing a tiny bit of health. Yeah, very deftly dodged there by monster, and this like Corsair Scourge dance is really giving time and space here to monster. Monster really didn't go for like an air build per se. I like that the air units are just circling in order to keep their momentum and their acceleration, so that way they don't have to speed up from a dead stop. We've got more Sunkens on the way. Monster is scouting around, burrowing some lings. Checking some bases with like some patrol logic there. It looks like we have another attempted move out here by Banana Brain. Yeah, there's so many Zealots here. It feels like Banana Brain just needs to engage. Storm attempt there to try and save the High Templar. Manages to live. There's so many Zealots. There's 30 Zealots on the field here for Banana Brain. Like, but there are lurkers out now. Banana Brain's gonna be forced to retreat back. We'll engage with some army here. But I don't think we have any observers out. It looks like we have, I think, yeah, Overlord speed, I'm pretty certain, is researched. Storm attempt on the Scourge, but not much damage added to them. And again, these Corsairs, I feel like they could kill these Scourge, but they must just be like hard-coded to run away from Scourge and not to try and fire back at them. They do get some of them cleaned up by the cannons though, but these are really needed to support the Zealots here. Looks like the Zealots thinking about going into that base, but decide to back off as the Mutalisks are able to sort of pick off these zealots without too much issue since the Corsairs aren't there. Nice little line being drawn on the bridge there by Monster. Monster has some of the best formation movement that I've seen, and I absolutely love to see its use. Especially, like, Zerg can get so many Zerglings, and here we have a good fight here, but nice arc formed by Banana Brain there, just out of the act of the fighting. Talking about Monster's formation movement there, and that was just a very nice arc to deal with those Zerglings. And now it looks like Banana Brain thinking about positioning to threaten this base again. We have a Nidus, I think some Nidus usage there. There is a Nidus Canal out on the field. And Monster, I think, might be like one of the only Zergs to utilize Nidus Canals. I'm not sure if, I don't think I've ever seen another Zerg use it. Zerg AI use it, that is. Another fight at the front here. These two cannons are putting in some work to help out here. Nice pick off of an Observer. Also got a Corsair there. But Banana Brain able to hold back the Zerg forces for now. But it looks like the natural is getting broken into here. A lot of probes falling. Banana Brain just letting this natural fall as it doesn't really have the army to deal with this. It got so much gas, but it just can't spend it because the minerals are so low. There is a Dark Templar out, but there's also a Overlord. It gets picked off, though. With that Overlord getting picked off, another one needs to come over. These Dark Templar are trying to kill the Zerg that they can. Looks like we've got a bit of hesitation here to dive into the main. Banana Brain has a little bit of resources in there. I think it's trying to keep enough resources for a Nexus as well, because it's going to need a Nexus once it can take that natural. But I think once Monster just finally A moves into that main, it's going to be over. I'm not sure exactly what the hesitation is. Maybe because that area you can't really like storm dodge very well, and because of that tiny choke, and so if the fighting's right there and a large chunk of your army kind of gets stuck there, that might just be hesitating, avoiding that. And there's more army is getting through a bit there, but I mean, Monster's at 200 basically. There's like one Zergling outside, so it's technically at 199.5, but probes just keep getting picked off as well here as they keep trying to go to like build a base, but they're just not going to be able to with Monster's army there. And eventually Banana Brain's just going to send all of its probes to their death out there. Yeah, so now it's just kind of a waiting game, waiting for Monster to dive in there. More hatcheries being thrown down. We can see on the mini-map here, Monster's pretty much taken over the map. Even taking the mineral only here, just on the other side of the wall to the main of Banana Brain. Taking this natural as well. Monster, once these hatcheries finish, will have taken every single base on the map, except for Banana Brain's main and Banana Brain's natural. But there's so many. So there's 70 Hydralisks and 70 Zerglings out on the field. I love that those numbers are equal. Upgrades, we're going up to 3-3-3, like 3 melee, 3 ranged, and 3 armor. Would be Monsters, just you just need the A move. You could A move and just macro 8,000 minerals in the bank, 4,000 gas. This isn't quite the map mine out slugfest like I was talking about at the beginning of the series. I more meant like both players mine the map out, but I guess you'll sometimes get this sort of situation too. But yeah, I think this is a case of something making Monster not confident to walk in there, despite the fact that it could just throw away like 10 armies to Banana Brain at this point and probably still win. Banana Brain actually doesn't even have the minerals for a Nexus at this point, but is trying to stay close to 400 so that it can build, or, you know, it can long distance mine a little bit probably and then build the Nexus if it needs to. You know, it's getting some free shots off on that Corsair there. But actually I think it's just one Mutalisk, but trying to not lose that Mutalisk to anything, and the Scourge as well. A couple of shots from a few other units being thrown out there. It's interesting that there are Hydras there. There were 69 workers for Monster, now at 70. Yeah, I'm just... It really must just be a fear of Storm and that cramped space that has Monster not diving in to the main here. It's like the only thing I can think of, because there's just so much army here. It's interesting too, though, how the whole army moves in unison. Like when one chunk of the, or when the army decides to pull back, it's like everything turns around just about. So that's really fascinating to see, but I like too how like Monster has set up hatcheries at some of these bases. I thought, look at all of these. I wonder like how these Niduses all connect. Oh no, it's actually trapped some of its units. There's some drones here. Because the buildings are so tight, they're actually kind of trapped there. But yeah, we're mining from the majority of bases, but not all of them, because we just have so many, we can spread a lot of our drones out. I don't know where a lot of the drones are. There's like these ones here, there's this Nidus here, that might be what's connected to that. There's a few drones. Like, it doesn't look like there's 70 workers for Monster, but there are. I just don't know where they all are. But it is spreading drones out to more bases as some of the bases mine out. Silly as it is, I wonder if this might end up going to like some sort of timeout and be decided by score, which I think would go to Monster. I think it's like units and units killed and buildings raised. And I believe that is going to go for Monster's favor if we hit that, but it's hard to say since I can't like actually see the score screen or anything after the conclusion of this. 27,000 minerals though for Monster. Monster's just going to mine every single mineral on the map, isn't it? Something has it absolutely spooked about moving in there to that main. I don't know. I'm wondering what... I mean, there are 2 High Templar, there's 2 Dark Templar, there is an Overlord here though. Like, at some point, it should just be like, okay, I have this much minerals, I have this much gas. I can just throw units away forever, and I'm gonna eventually win this. This isn't BGH, this isn't Fastest. I kind of want to play some BGH and Fastest, but... maybe not against the AIs, because their production capabilities are just absolutely broken on Fastest style maps. We are at the 32-minute mark in the game here. We might even hit, I think there's a hard limit of an hour too on game lengths on SSCAIT. Might be wrong about that, but I think that exists. So we might even hit that timeout if this goes on long enough. I like how there's just the occasional exchange of damage, and eventually it leads to like a single unit dying. But it takes a little bit for that to actually happen here. And it seems like it's mostly Protoss units taking the damage. They're still just trying to get in there. Oh, there's a lot of drones over here. Well, that might actually be where like the majority of the workers are. That I'm like, it doesn't look like there's 70 workers per monster, but that's probably the case. Actually, it's not 70 workers, 70 Zerglings, 70 Hydralisks, 10 lurkers somewhere. They're defensive lurkers, I suppose. Yeah, because there's like 2 there. So 70 seems to be a number that monster really likes in terms of production of units and workers and things like that. Slowly chipping away at the Protoss army here, but some of the downtime, I think, is allowing shield regeneration to happen here for Banana Brain. Zerglings being picked off. Actually, with those Zergling deaths, we have a Lurker coming up. Yeah, this is sort of the cast Chobo did last week. And he talks about sometimes you get these silly situations with AIs where they just kind of keep dancing back and forth a bit. I might actually have to figure out who won on score here. Although Dragoon did fall. So, Monster has some time here to maybe clear this army out enough to just move in there. Ooh, that was a lot. That was a bit brave of a move out there by Banana Brain. Took a lot of damage on that Dragoon. I thought we were about to see Monster commit into Banana Brain's main. Not quite. This natural is going to be the only place with minerals and gas left eventually here. This goes on long enough. A couple more nibbles on that Dragoon. Come on. This might actually go to timeout. I'm pretty certain the Monster's gonna win if this goes to timeout. Look at those upgrades though. And then like the research is just 2 things for Monster, 1 thing for Banana Brain. Everything is 3-3. We even have Ultralisk upgrades, and the Zerglings are crackling, so like up. Nope. Thought maybe the Zerglings were going to charge in there, but no. They just had to back out. Monster being very conservative, very worried about that 52k mineral bank that it has. 22k gas bank. Not sure if it will be able to re-macro. It loses this army and may throw it to Banana Brain. I'm just being silly. I really think it's the Storm. The fear of Storm and not being able to dodge. Another emergency vehicle going by, probably picked up by the microphone. But, nothing's died for a little while, so if something doesn't die, we might hit the 5-minute timeout here. Just the occasional Hydralisk spit, like. Alright, and that's the end of the game, so that's a 5-minute timeout with no kills. So I'm gonna have to check if this is a Monster 3-0 or if this game went to Banana Brain. I'm more than likely thinking that this game went to Monster, but there is a chance that Banana Brain got a win on points here. So gonna have to confirm that, and I will either see you in Game 4 for this series or in Game 1 of our semifinals. Alright, and we've come to a blank screen here, which you probably can guess what that means. Monster got that win for the 3-0 over Banana Brain to make it to the semifinals to go up against Crazyo. Purple Wave and Banana Brain still have a shot at winning the tournament. They will drop down into the losers bracket where they can fight for the chance to play the winner. Well, first they'll play the loser of this match, because the loser of this match also drops down to the losers bracket. And then the winner moves on to the finals and will face the winner of the losers bracket. So pretty exciting there. Just real quick too, the semifinals is going to be best of 3 still. I believe it is only the finals, which will be best of 7, and it could be 2 bests of 7s if the winner of the losers bracket comes back, or meets up with the winner of the winners bracket, beats them. The winner of the winners bracket would still have to lose 2 series to be eliminated, so there would be 2 rounds between them. I think we had that happen in a previous season that I casted. Off the top of my head, I can't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure that has happened before. But let's get this series rolling. Crazyo Monster, the number 1 and number 2 seeds out of the round robin. Here we go. First game is on destination. We have Monster spawning as the light blue Zerg at the top of the map, and down at the bottom of the map we have Crazyo spawning as the green Terran. Now, as a Terran player myself, I like to sometimes fire up the Snail client and play against Monster because it's a lot of fun. Monster plays a very human style of ZVT, at least against humans, but it's like cranked up to a whole other level because AI controlling defilers is just absolutely insane. The way it can the efficiency with which it can use consume to restore mana and then just cover your entire screen in swarms is the stuff of nightmares. But we'll see if Crazyo has a response, because Crazyo will have AI level reflexes as well. Maybe Monster won't even get to that phase, or if it does, maybe Crazyo has an answer. We will see. Looks like the scout gets chased out by Crazyo, comes back in though after going down there, so I guess I was just making sure that there wasn't anything down there. We do see, okay, so Crazyo is going, it looks like, for Mech War 111 opener, as we do have that early gas. We are chasing that drone around now, which we know is safe to do because we have this SCB up here and can clearly see that spawning pool just finishing now. Factory is on the way, the first Zerglings are coming out. Vultures should be out in plenty of time to defend any Zergling play here. A lair is on the way, so it looks like we have some 2 hatchery play here. And the 2 Zerglings that we've seen, although the SCV pathing here would worry me a little bit, because we may not necessarily see everything that hatches out of the larva unless it's being timed. Ooh, nice mineral walking. Ooh, I liked that. Mineral walk to get through the lings that were blocking it there. That is something kind of stylish to see an AI doing. Looks like we're getting a lot of Marines though. I wonder if this is going to be like some sort of one base biomech push. It looks like we are coming out with the Marines and the Vulture, and we have not taken an expansion, so it looks like getting rid of the Circodon with a Marine. I like that, just to make sure that there's nothing in the way to sort of mess with the pathing there. Now there is a Sunken out though. Ooh, that Vulture's taking some really heavy damage here. And Mutalisks are on the way. We have the armory coming up here, though. But I don't think... There's no engineering bay just yet. So they have these Mutalisks are going to come out. We have medics, though. We have medics in a tank. So it looks like this was an attempt to bust this really early. But with it being 2-hatch instead of 3-hatch, the Mutalisks came out, I think, in time to really push this back. The armory is finished, so Goliaths can be produced, but there's going to be a lot of Mutalisks able to come down here if Monster so chooses. But it looks like Monster is getting a bit distracted by the bit of bio that is trickling out there. So that's buying some time here for Crazio. Looks like some turrets are being started, but will they get up in time? I think they will, because Monster's going to just go ahead and leave. There is still a bit of a presence here that could be a bit of a threat, so Monster coming back to just clean this up. You can see the damaged Mutalisk there flying back. They're just circling around as they heal. Looks like Crazio continuing to want to be aggressive, but these Mutalisks are going to come in and find some space here and really hammer on these turrets, and just the one Goliath by itself not able to stop these Mutalisks. They're going to dive in on the workers now. And like this, they're willing to take some damage to get the worker kills and sort of shut down the mining here. I like to see an AI being aggressive like that with even attacking the cockaroo. Okay. That poor screaming bird, man, is just floating there. And this Goliath is just absolutely mad at it. This continued pressure at the front, though, it's keeping the Mutalisks back. And this force could continue to grow and potentially pose a problem. The reinforcements getting caught by the Mutalisks here. There's just 10 on the field, and now there's quite a few back here for healing. So while Crazio's not necessarily scoring kills, it is making the Mutalisk army a little bit smaller and thinner. Does need to be careful, though, not to really lose ground units to those Sunkens. Now the Mutalisks coming back out here, they are falling. So this aggressive stance from Crazio is working for now, but Crazio, the longer they stay on one base, the more all-in they might be, but I think they just need to, in order to keep this forward of a position, just have to just keep producing. Nice Goliath micro there to handle those Hydralisks. We've got another factory coming down, so yeah, Crazio is just pretty much going all in with this here. Monster was able to get a third out. It did get a drone out at some point to get that third set up, and it does have a couple of Sunkens there, so it's pretty well defensed given that I haven't seen a tank out in a while. Excuse me. And unfortunately, there's no starport, there's no vessel. Okay, actually, no, Crazio maybe a little less all-in than I was thinking, as they are going ahead and getting this command center. They got an additional factory, but they're actually not producing out of all of their factories. They held off on unit production for a moment there to go ahead and get this natural lease started, but Monster not focusing on the army here, which can't really do much because of the Sunkens, and instead forces, actually maybe destroys that natural instead of getting a cancel. And that's like 400 minerals gone, and Crazio's worker count is so low too. These Mutalisks are just being a major headache here for Crazio. Yeah, I'm not sure what the record of these two were in the round robin. I might have to look that up just to see. Remember, they did play each other twice in the round robin, and there could be some learning at play here from that. We have the Mutalisks diving in now. We have a flood of Zerglings coming in too, and there's that dark swarm. And the Zerglings and the Lurkers are under it. They can't be hurt by the Goliaths, and there's no splash damage out on the field, and there's nothing that can snipe that Defiler as long as it stays under the Stark Swarm. A little bit of a gap in the Swarm, and there's no Zerglings right now for that Defiler to eat, so a small reprieve being given to Crazio, but just one scanner and these Lurkers. Now we're out of scans. The turrets do offer some detection, but yeah, like just look at all those swarms. And slowly the Terran base will just be consumed by these. So nicely held there by Monster, getting it the time it needed to get the swarm in order to be aggressive here, keeping Crazio just to the one base. This is looking to shape up to be a pretty exciting series here between these two. I don't think... Oh, the attack actually does kind of peter out here. But Crazio doesn't really have resources to do much. But these Goliaths are fighting valiantly. Wouldn't be surprised if one of them are the one of the ones that killed, or the one that killed the Kakaru, but in the end, we have a fresh round of hatchlings coming in here. Monster took a couple more bases behind this as well. And Monster's going to jump out with a 1-0 lead. Crazio gives the GG. Let's get game 2 going. Game 2 will take place on Empire of the Sun. We have Crazio spawning as the orange Terran up at the top left of the map. And down at the bottom right, we have Monster. Not doing anything. This is something that was noticed a little bit in the round robin. And it looks like it slipped into at least one game of the elimination bracket that we've seen so far, where for some reason sometimes a bot just does not start. That is a bit unfortunate to see it strike in the semifinals here. I'm going to have to verify with the tournament organizer, you know, I mean, I guess the results of this are going to have to count, I guess, because everything's been played out. But, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate to see it happen. The code for the tournament software that runs everything is open sourced, and, you know, the tournament organizer, Break, on Discord, he has asked the community to help with figuring out bugs like this that have hit the tournament the past few seasons. So if you have a mind for programming and you want to help us out and take a look, links should be on the Discord, and the link to join the Discord is in the description below, I believe. The drone's auto-targeting the SCV there. We're just going to speed this game up because this is a no start for Monster. And that's actually kind of bad for Crazio because it's going to get a win with this, and it is going to be under the impression that this won, but really what won is the fact that Monster just didn't start. And Crazio's going to go up, tie the series 1-1. After that unfortunate no-start bug striking Monster, which again, it's not a bug in Monster, it's a bug that can happen to, it seems to be mostly client bots, if not exclusively client bots, where something just goes wrong with getting the bot running and connected into the StarCraft instance. So it's unfortunate that that struck in the semifinals here for Monster. The series is currently tied at 1-1. We have Monster for Game 3 spawning on Roadrunner. No connection issues. As the blue Zerg at the bottom left, and up at the top left, we have Crazio spawning as the brown Terran. And so we have here Monster doing some scouting with that early drone, going for a 12 hatch, it would appear. while Crazio is perhaps doing the same build that we saw in the last 2 games. I don't know if this is a specific build for verse monster, or if it's just something like, hey, I've learned this works, and that no start may unfortunately reinforce the use of this build if it's one that really doesn't work. But we'll see what happens here. Looks like, yeah, we're getting the factory. We only got 2 Marines. Okay, now there's more Marine production, so it looks like we're going to see the same build out of Crazio, and I think we're going to see a similar build out of Monster here. We're getting the 2-hatch layer. Ooh, the SCV getting tripped up there by the workers in the mineral line and getting taken out. So Crazio needs to be a little bit careful here, because now it's lost the scout. It won't necessarily know which tech route is going to be done by Monster. You can make the assumption that it's probably going to be, you know, Spire, given that you had not seen a Hydra Den by now. You have a couple Zerglings coming out to join the Scout Zergling, and they're going to go ahead and fall back. There is a sunken creep colony on the way that will become a sunken here. Pretty nicely defensively positioned. You're going to need more than 1 vulture if you're going to try and run by that or anything. And also, I love that it puts the Zerglings on the ramp there in order to defend against run-bys. Crazio taking this left path here, which actually, you could probably toss some tanks here and get some really nice shelling of that natural. But again, the Mulisks are already on the way. There's a Zergling, but the tank is coming up here now. The medic's not here with the army just yet. Is siege mode done? Siege mode is done. Okay, gonna go ahead and siege up. Needs to be careful, keep units out of the sunkens. Monster seems to be really defensive here right now with the Mutalisk, so the build might work this time. Okay, now we have the Mutalisks diving, but Stim is ready. We've got medics here. Some drones have fallen, but I think this natural is going to live. There's just the 1 tank, and now we've got turrets and Goliaths being produced behind this. So Monster able to save the natural. Almost able to and this vulture's got to live to run back and tell the tale of what the heck happened there. Now Monster took a little bit of damage, and we'll have to repopulate with the drones there at the natural a little bit, but where, oh, the Mutalisks are actually at this 3rd, which is far away from the Terran. That's why the Mutalisks were kind of so far back. Crazio able to actually get some pressure and pick off a drone there. I think it might have been a freshly hatched drone. Now directly engaging with the sunken, there's enough here to take it out. And the Mutalisks seem to be drawn between, like, wanting to defend that 3rd and the natural. The natural's actually gonna fall. Like, this should not be happening. Monster should have what it needs to defend this, and it's gonna go ahead and dive into the main here with these Mutalisks. It's gonna get some worker kills, but there's enough turrets and the Goliaths popping out here that I think they'll be okay. But now Crazio will get a little bit stuck because there were some sunkens thrown down here as a panic response. And the Mutalisks are pretty bruised, and a few I think were even lost. Yeah, I don't see any, like, doing the circle healing thing. And there's just 8 Mutalisks, which might still be enough to clean this up. It's going to lose the main gas. I think there's... Okay, that Goliath stopped freaking out. I think, yeah, there's another one that was under the engineering bay there. So there were enough to fire on that. So Monster down to just 1 geyser for now. Rebuilding that extractor, but that could be picked off again if Crazio chooses to. But now there's another tank here going to be able to shell down these sunkens. And this main is going to fall, and I think this mainly comes down to mispositioning and misuse of the Mutalisks by Monster in this case. And not to discredit, you know, Crazio getting the win here, but like Monster had what it needed, I think, to clear the attacks when they happened, and Monster just did not utilize its Mutalisks to do so. I think Crazio is aware of the base that's down there. Based on the army movement, it looks like they are. I like the offensive turret thrown down in the old main too. Sometimes you just got to throw down some extra anti-air with your army. I think Monster wants to put down a spawning pool there, but that's going to go ahead and get taken out. Alright, it looks like this early pressure build can net Crazio some wins against Monster here, so Crazio goes up 2-1, looking to get a final win here to close out the series, and Monster looking to fight to stay alive. Game 4 here between these two, taking place on Heartbreak Ridge. Score currently 2-1 in favor of Crazio. We have Monster spawning on the left side of the map as the brown Zerg, and Crazio spawning as the purple Terran over on the left side. And I'm trying to think if there's anything about this natural that could be abusable and work in Crazio's favor. I'm not entirely sure. The third positioning may not cause the same errant Mutalisk behavior that we saw in the previous game. So I think if Monster properly utilizes its Mutalisks, it's got a good shot at tying the series up. But Crazio is a really strong AI. I think has a good chance of closing out the game, or closing out the series this game. Looks like we're going to get the same... Oh, the drone actually getting caught by the SCVs. They're similar to how Crazio's SCV got caught by the drones last game. That was very quickly done. But Monster did see the gas, so should know that this is going to be some sort of macro tech opening. Going ahead and getting that 12 hatch. And the spawning pool gas is now being gathered. That first 100 gas will most likely go into the lair. So it's 2 hatch again. Yep, and there's the lair at the first 100 gas. Now Crazio's SCV doesn't exactly see that. Does check the natural, sees that's still a hatchery, sees the Zerglings come out of that, sees some Zerglings, and then on that pass probably saw the lair. Now we're halfway through the lair, so we don't see the Hydralisk den, so it's most likely going to... And actually the SCV is just going to go ahead and return home now. I think that's fair. But we didn't see it then, so most likely going to be Spire. But I think it doesn't matter with what we're doing. We're just going to be diving in there and trying to score a win before Mutalisks can really impact the field here. I'm like surprised. I wonder too, like, if there was some metagaming happening here, because I mean 2 hatch is very much in vogue right now over 3 hatch. This build feels like it could crush 3 hatch. But like 2 hatch should be able to stop it. Because you're sinking your gas into those tanks in that siege mode. You're just not going to have medics in time to deal with the 2 hatch mutas. Oops. Oh, now we're stuck on that. Yeah, they're just stuck there now. So no more arrow key scrolling for me. Here we have the siege. Trying to protect the tank here, but the Mutalisks working on the Marines. Not focusing down the tank. The tank being kept alive right now. That SCV is repairing it. And even with the Mutalisks engaging, okay, now they are forcing the tank to return home, but it's going to go ahead and fall. And so that initial push is thwarted there by Monster. And yeah, it got the third down here, so the Mutalisks weren't confused with where to go. And now we've got a more similar situation to that first game on Destination, where Crazio kept sending out units to the front, but never getting like another tank out there and Monster being able to clean it up. And it looks like Monster trying to clean up the units that Crazio is throwing forward. And I mean, I like this concept of keeping the Mutalisks out of your base by just constantly having army out, but then you're not gonna have a large army yourself. Like at this point, Crazio really needs to just sit back and build up an army to be able to do something here. And we have a little bit of a repair going on here. I like how too, like in the, I think it was in the first game, I talked about I don't know how these two, how it shook out between these two in the round robin, and I should look it up, and I just haven't. Man, that Goliath, those two SCVs repairing it kept that Goliath alive. What are the upgrades right now? Looks like Crazy is just getting weapons and not getting... actually, range was researched, not stim. Okay. The engineering bay is starting to burn down. One Mutalisk continuing to apply pressure to it. I think Crazio might be thinking about wanting to take this natural. It has the minerals for it, but not throwing it down just yet. Perhaps not feeling confident that it can keep the Mutalisks at bay. There are 18 Mutalisks on the field right now, which is a lot, but the Filer's Mound is on the way. So the clock is ticking right now for Crazio. There's still no tanks out on the field, so there's no splash damage consumed. It's being researched right now. And now we have the natural command center being thrown down. But yeah, like, I think really to try and stop this, like, I don't know what the answer is, to be honest, to Monster once Defilers are out on the field. Once you have Defilers in Storm, or in Swarm and Consume, like, I don't know what you could do to stop it. EMP would immediately get rid of the energy, but then the Defiler could just immediately consume and get it back. So, like, EMP doesn't feel like it's right. Radiate feels like it would take too long to kill the Defilers. Maybe Mines with splash damage, but I feel like, and tank splash, but feels like AIs, like Monster, would be able to mitigate that splash from both the mines and tanks as much as possible. And yeah, this is one of the fun things about Heartbreak Ridge, is this high ground here gives a lot of room for Mutalisks to just work their magic against this mineral line. Second gas hasn't been taken just yet. Where are the Defilers? None have been made just yet. First Defiler coming out now. Consume's been done for, I think, a little bit now. But yeah, once Consume comes out, I don't know what Crazio is going to do. I mean, it has a large amount of Goliath. There's 31 Goliaths out right now. But if Crazio lets the Defilers get all the way to this natural, it's just not... I don't think it's going to turn out well for him. But right now, there's nothing to slow down the march of the Defilers once they decide to come out. And, I mean, how many Defilers? There's 2 out. I think it was 2 or 3 that Monster did its initial push forward with. I just realized I'm using my arrow keys again. I kept them back and didn't realize it. I'm kind of watching the Zerg army right now to see when it's going to go ahead and advance. Alright, we've got it coming out here with 2 Defilers. There's going to be a third one out, but it's not with the army at the moment. There's 40 Zerglings. We've got some Defilers. The Mutalisks are doing a dive here, pulling the Goliath army. There's so many Goliaths, but they just can't damage underneath Swarm. We've got Swarms coming down here. That one Lurker was not quite in Swarm. The Mutalisks all fall pretty quickly. Actually, Crazio pushing forward to get rid of those Defilers through the Swarm. I think that's what it needs to do. It needs to just fight through that Swarm. We have a tank out now, though. Which, while it can't get the Lurker... Okay, we were able to push the Swarm army back a little bit here. That cost us a fair bit of Lurker. Or, sorry, a fair bit of Goliath. So now we have Crazio trying to move across the map here. We have another push coming up from the south side here. Crazio's trying to move across the north. We've got a fair spread Like, one thing that kind of works for Crazio is this is a pretty big open space here. So you can spread out and force the need for a lot of swarms to cover a lot of the area. Swarm goes down there, tank's getting picked off. There's just so much here. And just this constant flood of Zerglings. And doing a pretty good job of keeping the Defilers alive, and just to say that one gets picked off. Yeah, doing a good job of trying to keep those Defilers alive as much as possible, while still getting some consumes off. This swarm's getting dangerously close to that natural choke, though. I don't think Crazio can produce units fast enough. But good targeting, making sure that the units are targeting what can actually be damaged, what is not underneath swarm as much as possible. But Monster's taking a 4th base, looking to take a 5th base. More hatcheries coming down. Just look at that production queue. Just so many Zerglings. And now it's 12 Goliaths and 1 tank. It feels like Crazio is just slowly bleeding units faster than it can replace them. Swarms in the natural now. Ooh, that was... Crazio was able to push that back just a little bit. But, like, not quite enough. Just the consume and the swarm is just so crazy. Like, if Artosis wants to see a nightmare, this is it, man. This is the nightmare right here. And with that, Crazy's going to go ahead and give the game to Monster, which is going to tie this series up 2-2, and it's going to come down to the final game, Game 5. Let's get it rolling. Game 5 will be taking place on La Mancha. Crazio spawning as the red Terran up at the top left, and Monster spawning as the yellow Zerg down at the bottom left. This will be the final game of today's cast. Finishing up the semifinals here. Which AI will make it to the finals through the winner's bracket? Will it be the crazy, consuming, swarming Monster? Or will it be the cold, hard, calculated machinery of Crazio? Crazio seems to have scored its wins on maps that are not 2 players, whereas Monster has won when it's been a 2-player map. Empire of the Sun was a little bit of an exception where the Monster had that unfortunate no-start situation happen. But the other win by Crazio was on Roadrunner, which is a 4-player map. So, will Crazio be able to pull another 4-player map win out? I think it might depend on where Monster expands, because this is an expansion that I think would lead the Mutalisks to be more willing to engage with the initial push from Crazio. And if that is what happens, that might be an issue for Crazio's push here. The drone just getting into scout now. It's interesting that the Marines, and I don't think that drone actually got to see the refinery or a factory, which is interesting. And yeah, we don't see a creep or sunken. So that last scout, this Overlord's still going over to the top right for some reason. That last scout might work in Crazio's favor. If there is nothing there, if there is no sunken, okay, now it's getting a creep colony and sunken. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say, if there's nothing there and Crazio is free to just walk in and start attacking, that could really work for Monster. It looks like Monster's, oh, it's gonna expand all the way at another main. This could work in Crazio's favor. So we have the initial units coming down here. They're gonna get stopped by the sunken. The Spire is gonna finish, and then we'll see the first Mutalisks start and then finish. The question is going to be, though, will if they choose to engage or not. The tank is already out. Crazio's units getting into a little bit of trouble. They're taking some damage. It looks like the Mutalisk's going straight to engage with Crazio's army. It was a bit unfortunate that it lost those Marines the way that it did. And the Mutalisks were just immediately getting in on the army, so it looks like that initial push just immediately shut down by Monster. Now we have the Mutalisks coming in to harass the main a bit. It's just pretty well defended, but one base Terran up against 3 base Zerg is just behind, unfortunately, for the Terran player. I would love to see, though, and I mean, Crazio's not the only one that does this, where like the AI just stops making workers because this is fully saturated. But part of oversaturating a base in like the early game and such is preparing to take the next base. So I'd love to see Crazio just continue to produce workers here, since it does indeed plan to take a natural and try to take this into a longer game. That way it could just immediately populate. But I suppose like cutting workers can allow you to squeak out a few more units, perhaps, in the earlier game, but... Okay, Hive is on the way, so the clock is starting... Oh, actually, maybe this is, Okay, because in the past we saw, like, a little less coordinated move forward of the army of Crazio. Army being pulled back by these Mutalisks here, and actually, ooh, that's a nice trap by those Goliaths, really thinning out those unit numbers a bit. Just 12 units right now, 4 Monster. I don't think the tank... Okay, yeah, there's the tank. So Crazio trying to defend that tank as it moves across here. For a moment, I thought those selected Mutalisks were like a queen or two or something. I was like, what? Is a queen doing out? But it wasn't quite what I was seeing. So the tank is able to get in position to siege these Sunkens. And this is before the Hive can finish, so there might be a shot here for Crazio to do something. Unlike the Heartbreak Ridge game, Crazio is not just sitting back. The drones are burrowing and unburrowing. The Mutalisks are trying to like base trade with the Terran, and they might actually be able to do some damage, but there's a fair bit of turrets out. But Crazio is really, really short on minerals, and there's like no workers. There are just 6 workers for Crazio, but Crazio busts down the door here, making some damage. It can't really afford to take on the Goliaths here. We have ourselves a base trade race here. What is... This is not what I expected. Consume is done. But no Defilers are on the field. What is this? The Mutalisks are now trying to come back, maybe to try and, like... Crazio just needs to be really careful with its army here. It does not have the resources to repair. It can't lose this tank. Monster going ahead and taking the other natural here. Crazio's going to lift that command center, and it's going to fall. I don't know if Crazio is aware of this base, though. Mutalisks are going to come in and try and clear up this army. I think there's enough. So yeah, there was enough there, and it looks like Monster will be moving on to the finals, taking the series 3-2. Quite the exciting finish here. Just wow. I'm not sure exactly like what happened to all of Crazio's workers. It must have been in the attempts to repair like the initial turrets and such, and they just got wiped out. So I don't think Crazio ever got the natural established there. Crazio managed to clear the main, has a floating engineering bay here. I think the reason that Crazio isn't GG'd out is because these two vultures are still on the field. But just wow. What a crazy finish to today's cast. Just an excellent, excellent series between these two. And Crazio will drop down into the losers bracket, but Crazio only needs to win one series to get right back in a rematch with Monster, but it will need to beat Monster twice if it's able to do that, or get back there in order to take a win in this year's tournament. This last vulture gets picked off, and Crazio will probably give the game to Monster very shortly here. There it goes. Just that one building gets attacked and destroyed. Crazio will go ahead and tap out, give the GG. Excellently played by Monster. Excellent effort there by Crazio, almost taking the series. But Monster will move on to the finals 3-2, with Crazio dropping down into the losers bracket. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's cast. That was very exciting. All three of the series, great series overall, but man, Crazio and Monster did not disappoint as the number 1 and 2 seeds. Monster is going to move on to the finals and await the winner of the losers bracket for best of 7. If that loser is able to win, well, the winner of the losers bracket, I mean, they're not a loser, but you know what I mean. If they are able to beat Monster, then again, it will be a 2 best of 7 series matches. And that leaves us with the losers bracket to work through here. This is not a complete picture of the losers bracket, as trying to show the full losers bracket. Actually, this isn't even exactly as much as I wanted to show here. Let me go ahead and adjust this really quickly. Let's just make it a little bit smaller. But the zoom in isn't too bad. There we go. So not pictured on this is losers round 5 and 6. Crazio is sitting in losers round 6. But yeah, so I mentioned at the beginning of the cast, and I edited in a little bit of text just to explain that I had started recording this with the anticipation of there being a cast of the losers round 1 in the beginning. And so that cast did not end up happening, which I'm glad I really didn't talk about winners and losers of the losers bracket, because then, whoops, accidental spoilers. At least I hope that there weren't any that I didn't catch when I was quickly listening back to the beginning of this cast. But we could take a look at the complete, the almost complete picture of the losers bracket. Again, rounds 5 and 6 not pictured here, just because it might be a little bit hard to read if we tried to capture everything in the picture, because it's rather horizontal to try and get all of the pictures, or all of the rounds pictured in here. But pretty much round 1 is going to be 4 series. We've got McRave, Z, Ironbot, Xiaoyi, MadMixP, Microwave, Halpan, Tier Protoss, and Willy T, all AIs that lost their series in the first round of the winners bracket. The winner of those series will move on to face Beta Star, Steam Hammer, Stardust, and Dragon, which all are AIs that lost in the second round of the winners bracket. The winner there will go on to face the winners, also face winners from losers round 2. After that, that would be round 3, and then after round 3 concludes, that's when Purple Wave and Banana Brain get into the mix in the losers bracket. Then the winner of the 2 winners from round 2 will go on to face each other in round 5, not pictured here. The winner of round 5 will go on to face Crazio, and the winner of round 6, between Crazio and whichever AI makes it that far, will go back, or will go into the finals to face Monster. So this has been really exciting to cast so far. Some great games, just the right amount of AI potato that we love to see here as well. But again, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to throw the games that we just casted up here in the bracket as a kind of just sign off here. But again, thank you everybody. I'm not sure what we're doing next week. I don't want to speak for Chobo, but he might put out an extra cast to make up for the one that we didn't do on Saturday. I don't know what day of the week that will be if that happens, but my current expectation is there will be a cast on Saturday and then a cast on Sunday. That will be all losers round games. So like I said, we still need to do losers round 1, and then that's like 4 series thereabouts to a cast seems like a nice pace, a nice tempo. So probably losers round 1 would be, the next cast, and then losers round 2 would be the cast after that, and then 3 and 4 would be a cast after that, and then we would have 5 and 6, or maybe 4. Maybe somewhere in there we might have a cast of more than 4 series, just so that way the finals, or maybe round 6 and finals, will be a cast in and of itself, which might be a duo cast between Chobo and I. It's not finalized yet, but we like to try and do the finals as like a duo cast between the two of us. So with that, I want to give a quick thank you to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate the support. Links are down in the description below. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like. Again, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Until then, take care.